Rust is a multiplayer survival game made by Facepunch Studios. It was originally developed as a DayZ clone but grew so much bigger. With this growth, more players began to play and more content was added. With this content came so many mysteries. The casual player would say Rust doesn't have that many secrets or can have many entries on its own iceberg, but I would say that is wrong. Rust is one of the most open but mysterious games I've ever played, and under that sheet of paper we call normal Rust or just a normal wipe, there's much more that we can learn about it from the game. My name is Sizimon, and this is the largest Rust Iceberg. Alright, fuck it, we're gonna take it from the top. Oh my god, yes, I did it. I posted on time, guys. Wooby, round of a fucking applause. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. But I just want to go ahead and thank you all for the outstanding support you guys gave the top 5 Rust monuments to not based in your video. You guys got me to 2K views in under a week and got me up 70 subscribers. Like, I only asked for 5, and you guys got me to like 165 subscribers, and I just gotta say, I'm so fucking thankful for you guys. Like, thank you all so much for that. It has greatly made my week. What the fuck? It has greatly made my week that my content is resonating with so many people and having a sign to keep going. I want to make this brief because we have a lot of explanations to do, but thank you guys so much. You are all perfect, but now I know this isn't my normal type of video, but I've always wanted to make an iceberg explain video, so I decided to put my type of content and the content I've always wanted to make together. And for those of you that don't know how an iceberg explain works, pretty much you take information from a certain game, movie, genre, topic, etc. and slap it on a sheet of paper. You put the most known information at the top that everyone, including people who don't play, should know, and the least known and darker information at the bottom that even players who have been playing for years might not even know about. This was an iceberg made by yours truly, and there are over 100 entries on this iceberg. A few of these entries were inspired and taken by the original Rust Iceberg made by its redness 2 years ago. And a lot of these are fan theories that I think are plausible. Also, before we begin, I will have a comfort meter on the bottom right of the screen. This will depict how positive I am on the topic. For example, if 100% comfort is seen, that means I am very sure about the topic and I know pretty much everything about it. I will now display on the screen what every comfort meter will mean. Now that we are finished with the information, we can begin to head into the depths below this iceberg. Sit back, get comfy, because this will be a long one, and enjoy. Do not ask me why I chose this song for the background music. I just wanted something to be upbeat for the first tier, considering nothing here is disturbing. Don't judge me. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare Rise Up. Anyways. If you have played or seen Rust, then you have definitely seen the word Cobalt slapped around on a few places and things, mainly at the launch site and on shipping containers. Cobalt theoretically inhabited the island before we survivors were dropped here for some type of social experiment. You can find posters around the map that give evidence that they created most, if not every single building and landmark there, except for the airfield, which I will explain later. You can also see that they had big plans for research and colonizing other planets. These revelations made by Cobalt would then bring... As I said earlier, Rust has lore and mysteries that still haven't been answered. The lore of Rust is dropped in very subtle ways like posters and monuments, which I'll get into later. If you want to see more about the lore of Rust, go watch the Shadowfrax video from 6 years ago. For it being 6 years old, it explains a lot, so that goes to show you how much we still don't know. The lovely Nakeds. Nakeds refer to players who have freshly spawned, because the default preset for players is just purely naked, which you can change to having underwear. Although Nakeds look like harmless and freshly spawned, they could be hiding in a yoka getting ready to grub you. Grubbing is a dirty playstyle where you wait for an enemy to be very vulnerable, like AFK or looking away, and then you strike with something like an Ayoka, water pipe, or double barrel shotgun. The reason it is called grubbing is because you are just leeching off of another person for looting in an immoral way. But hey, that's Rust. Though grubbing is very efficient because it's low risk, high reward, which can instantly send you into a snowballing in Rust is an act of gaining loot from pretty much no work, like rags to riches in just a second. It usually starts with a player making a play and killing someone with better loot than them, then they use that loot to kill more players and just take their loot. This is usually done by grubbing, but can happen when someone just dies in front of you. This is a rare occurrence, so if you've never played Rust, don't think it's that simple. A wipe is a reset and a new coming of a playthrough. There are multiple types of wipes. There are map wipes, which happen on weekly servers where only the map changes and reset every 7 days, and then there are force wipes, where the game updates, wipes everyone's research blueprints and the map on every single server. Wipes are pretty much resets of what you have created and played. Facepunch is the independent game development studio based in Birmingham, England, that brought Rust to you all. They also made the popular game Garry's Mod back in 2004, which I'm sure anyone with a computer knows what that is. They also made Chippy, which will be in a later entry, and they are known for working on a new sandbox game called Sandbox. It's a weird fucking way to spell sandbox, but to each their own, I guess. Legacy refers to the Rust in 2013. This was the original release of Rust, which had zombies, very weird mechanics, different graphics, etc. Since Rust had some outdated aspects in 2014, they released what was then called Rust Experimental, which is what we know as just Rust today. The developers left players with the option to still play on Legacy, but just by changing the client version because some computers couldn't run Rust Experimental. Eventually, the developers stopped updating Rust Legacy because they wanted to focus on the new dated version of the game. Rust throws homage to Legacy a lot by implementing items and skins into the game, like the Legacy Shelter, the Legacy Bow, and the Legacy Furnace. People now believe that we are taking a trip back to Legacy and into a new Rust Golden Age with the new updates that are coming out. In 2021, Rust joined the world of Twitch drops. It was a few week-long event where you were able to watch Twitch streamers and claim free skins. The streamers that participated in this event were still and are very well known, like XQC, TSM Myth, Pokimane, Jacksepticeye, Shroud, Ludwig, Swales, and many more. In the second round, Moist Critical participated, and this was the only first two of many more. We are currently on our 37th round after 4 years, which when I wrote this, was 37. I think we're on like 40 now. Just like in CS2, you can gamble your skins on third-party websites that you bought or earned, like Rust Chance, Rusty Pot, Rust Clash, Bandit Camp, and many more. Few of these sites have been accused of scamming / toying with the probability, but this is yet to be proven, and hasn't done me wrong yet. But if you were to gamble, be responsible, and of course, be over the age of 18. Blueprint has to be by far the most widely known Rust YouTuber, even by those who don't play the game. He is known for his solo adventures and his multiple hour-long Rust movies. If you still don't know him, you've probably heard him say,
"Welcome to Rust."
Rust movies are YouTube videos of Rust made in almost a movie format that usually has the creator as a narrator who pops up from time to time to explain the story. In these movies, there are things called cinematics that are either made in Rust or Blender. These are very cinematic viewpoints of the scene where we are on, or just in general. These Rust movies are very popular in how a lot of content creators pull in people to not only their channel, but the game itself. These movie lengths can vary from 30 minutes to 4 hours long. Rust movies were very popularized by a YouTuber who makes Rust cinematics, and his name is Frost is a Rust YouTuber who makes fantastic Rust movies and cinematics for the community to love. He has a skin in Rust, which is, of course, for the M249, but Frost was caught up in some controversy because people were mad when they found out some of his videos were scripted. No, this doesn't mean all of his videos are. A lot of them are legit, but you can tell which ones are real and fake at the end of the video. If in the credits it has, written by Frost, then you will know that this video is scripted. Frost is an outstanding creator, and if you haven't seen anything from him, go check him out. Secret Labs is a top-notch gaming chair company. Don't tell GT Racing I said that. a top-notch gaming chair company that has collaborated with Rust to make their very own line of Rust-themed gaming chairs. If you purchase one of these chairs, you would gain access to your very own Secret Labs chair in Rust. Zergs in Rust are the large groups of players that try to overwhelm their enemies with numbers rather than skill. The term Zerg came from the RTS game StarCraft. In StarCraft, the Zerg is a playable race that uses their numbers to win in their battles. There's no fine line between how many people make a Zerg because in one server, 7 people could be a small amount of players, and in another, that could be a huge problem. Two by ones are the most common base type in Rust, and can be one of the most efficient. 1 to 3 mans usually use it, but I've seen Zergs use this as their core, which is a very odd. 2 by ones are pretty effective because you can fit a lot in such a compact area and have an airlock protecting it all. Rust gameplay and game style of progression and protection being key to survival 24/7 make this such an addicting game because you have to compete with hundreds of people at a time, making sure you aren't raided and that you are always on top, making you need to play longer. Rust is pretty much whoever falls asleep first gets pranked, and I know no one wants to get pranked. The dopamine you receive from doing something big like snowballing, raiding, or just getting an item you are in dire need of is the equivalent to that of drugs because you do not want to die with what you have, and if you do, well, you are back to ground zero. People have even gone to Reddit to see why Rust is so addicting, seeing if they can salvage their relationships because their spouse is so addicted to the game. With addiction comes buying skins, and when you are addicted, you want to win all the time, which is why we come to our next entry. Some skins in Rust make the game pretty pay to win and give an unfair advantage to other players. Examples would be like the camouflage skins, like the whiteout skin, the camo set, or the blackout set. Then there are ones that give advantages in your home, like any neon skin for doors, boxes, or anything. Blueprint fragments are an older item, a part of the older blueprint system, where you would use blueprint fragments to make pages and research items. You would find these fragments from hitting barrels, and it would usually take 20 to 60 fragments to research an item. Lighter Nights was a popular game mechanic that was removed in trade for a lighter HUD at night. Lighter Nights was peak Rust where the moon would illuminate everything. This made PvP at night so much easier and no one could hide. Everyone enjoyed this feature and I don't know why they took it away. There have been some talks about bringing it back, but I doubt that. Happus Island was a custom-made map by Facepunch to give the players a nostalgic feel for Legacy Rust. This map was great for PvP because all the smaller monuments were next to the beach and the launch site was right in the middle of the snowy mountains, and the entire island itself. Happus was sadly discontinued due to its decrease in popularity. It will go down as one of the best things Rust has produced. Insiding is a term used when someone betrays their team and steals their base and loot. Usually this is done by gaining the team's trust by playing with them for a bit and getting their codes. Once this is done, the offender will most likely move all their loot to a new base, inaccessible to the team, or kick the team out of their base entirely. This is very immoral, but very effective, which is why you should always follow. The absolute #1 rule of Rust is do not trust anyone. As I just said, if you trust someone, you are liable to get insided and you can get grubbed by an unsuspecting naked and used as a snowball and so much more. Rust is a brutal game with no one to trust, not even your closest peers, which is why it is such a hard game to play and why it makes the thrill so much better. When I mentioned earlier that people thought Rust would be going into a golden age, this is the update that sparked that. The World 2.0 update brought many things like the new generation of mountains, new dive sites, new lakes, and freshwater oases, alongside with some changes with a certain animal, but we'll get into that later. The World 2.0 update also saw the return of rock formations that you can base on, like the God Rock and the Anvil Rock, which are the predominant of all rock formations. Sadly, not everyone can play on World 2.0 because the devs do not give a shit about. Console Rust is the Xbox S/X and PS4 to 5 version of Rust. It ultimately has worse graphics and fewer features considering it is hard to port a game that has been on PC for 11 years to consoles just like that. I'll expand more on console Rust later, but for now, this is all you need to know. Stevie is one of the OG Rust YouTubers who would be in the ranks of people like Blueprint and Frost. He has great edited Rust movies and is a great YouTube personality overall. He had very funny videos back in the day, especially when he used to do this. I think it was MS Paint animations for Rust movies, which was always a nice touch. U2's is a popular vinyl figurine company, similar to Funko, but mainly for YouTubers. They have done collabs with Five Nights at Freddy's, Call of Duty Zombies, multiple animes, multiple YouTubers, and even Rust. If you go to their website right now, you can buy the Hazmat plushie. You'll be able to get an in-game Hazmat plushie. Isn't that cool? Not only has Rust been made into U2's, but various YouTubers that play Rust as well, like Blueprint, Welland, and Fancy Orb is a popular Rust YouTuber that does Mr. Beast type videos in Rust, ranging from last to leave the circle gets $400 challenges to simulating entire civilizations and societies in Rust. Fancy Orb has been a predominant content creator for quite some time, coming from TikTok to where he is today. Fancy Orb, please clean your room. Fancy has some pretty tight ties to the popular Rust clan OT. Just recently, one of their members was banned unexpectedly. In late December of 2024, Rust YouTuber and OT member, Tacular, would post about using Reshade, a third-party service where you could control your brightness settings and whatnot. He would flex that he was using this to his advantage of being able to see better at night. A lot of people saw this, including the game developers. Soon enough, he would be banned, but not permanently. The developer said if he stopped using it, he would be unbanned when he is due, but he argued this statement. And then it turned into a permanent ban. He would then go on a spiel about how the admins didn't listen to him and gave him no response, even though they gave him an out, yada yada. Go check out this video if you want to see more about him. Rust Academy is a subpar YouTuber that does crazy raids that was actually caught faking his videos. I'm gonna make this entry short because I don't fucking like this guy. UKN is a popular line of Rust servers that are mainly used for training your aim and 1v1ing other players. UKN by far is the most popular server to train on and have the most Call of Duty-like experience on Rust. They have experiences like Gun Game, Primitive FFA, which is my favorite, AK FFA, and many more. I highly recommend hopping on UKN if you want to better yourself on Rust. Pookie Bear is a seasonal deployable item resembling that of a small teddy bear. It gives off comfort and is a great base companion. We all love Pookie Bear. Aww. As said before, Rust console has a little bit of controversy. This entry is referring to the lack of updates that console Rust has been getting. As of May 24, 2025, console Rust is about 5 years behind PC Rust, which has caused an outrage in the console community. The only reason console Rust is being held back is because of Rust being on an old-gen consoles as well. But in brighter news, console Rust is getting a big revamp and will now only be around 1 year behind PC Rust, with the addition of better graphics, tugboats, newer monuments, and much, much more. So, kudos to you guys! The name is pretty self-explanatory, but there's a lot more into this. Trap bases in Rust are decor bases that use mechanics of the game like electricity, simple game mechanics, or glitches to trap people and take their loot. Some of these trap bases have been game-breaking, like recently with the new Cooking 2.0 update that came with the Hopper, which can suck bodies from the floor, hiding any evidence that anyone died in there. Trap bases are such a scummy but mildly efficient way of playing Rust, but be warned, someone will get mad and try to raid you. On June 22, 2022, most of every gun's recoil in Rust changed, sparking outrage across the community. Veteran players were fuming over the new changes because of all the hard work they had poured into their skill, but now the playing fields have been leveled. This ultimately was a great decision because it would bring in new players easier, and it wouldn't give the new players such a hard time playing against older players. Contraband skins are skins that were added to Rust, but then quickly removed from the item shop due to copyright reasons or other reasons. For example, there's the Knock Knock rocket launcher, which looks pretty cool but was removed because of a movie called Knock Knock. Then one of the most infamous Rust skins, the Punishment Mask, which for obvious reasons was removed because it looked way too much like the Punisher logo. There are very few contraband skins, but they are all a hefty in price. There's a theory that Rust is on a completely different planet, which is actually backed up by a mathematical equation due to a fucking eclipse. This post by u/Hugo gives a detailed explanation on how Rust technically takes place 10 billion years into the future. Now we all know how secrecy Gary is with the Rust lore, but thanks to the eclipse observed today, we can estimate how much into the future Rust is. Here's the comment that made me calculate it. So, the math. In this image, we can see how big the moon relatively is to the sun. It is in front of it, but there is no full eclipse, like nowadays. That means the moon is farther away, but by how much? Radius is greater than 0.5 of what it is today. We can use geometry to then calculate the distance increase, which coincidentally is exactly double assuming the radius r2 is 0.5 r1. Tan A equals r/2d1 equals r/d2 goes into d2 equals 2d1. Now, since the moon must have distanced itself by 384,400 kilometers and it distanced itself at a rate of 3.8 centimeters a year. That is, I'm not even going to try to read that, or 10 billion years. So the Rust world is set in 10 billion years into the future. A commenter on this post, u/Nobono, replied to Hugo's post and states, given the sun will make Earth inhabitable in just under 3 billion years and totally engulf the Earth in approximately 5 billion years, the only thing that this picture proves is that Rust isn't based on Earth. Which is very cunning evidence to support that Rust takes place on a different planet, but this is very sad, now debunked, because Rust Skybox has been updated to look like our own sky. Chippy's Arcade is a craftable arcade machine that can play games. Currently, it can play one game that is a contribution of another of one of Face Punch's game known as Chippy. You play through a retro style of the game, which, while getting a high score, fighting aliens almost like Galaga or Space Invaders. The only way to get this machine was by playing the game Chippy by Face Punch for 30 minutes while also owning Rust. Savis Island, originally called Koth Island, is an original Rust procedural map that was made for King of the Hill type PvP, and was made even and symmetrical to give fair chances of PvP. There are not many places to base on Savis considering it is a quite small map. Sadly, the Savis Island was discontinued in August of 2020. Another tale from Legacy Rust. The rat animals were the original animals of Rust. They were red in color and considered mutated. There isn't much to say about the rat animals except they were removed in October of 2014 to bring the new animals in. Medieval Rust is quite a new addition to the game. It is the same idea as the Rust Moon event and Western Rust, but this time it's Rust but with only primitive gear like bows, crossbows, the new 4-shot crossbow, compound bows, and melee weapons. With the Medieval Rust update came various new items like the horse armor, the batting ram, the siege tower, the ballista, which is fucking crazy and absolutely launches people, and finally the catapult, which is one of the coolest things because you're able to launch other players in a comical tone. The patrol helicopter is an event that occurs every 2 to 4 hours. It is controlled by an NPC and has a large proportion of health. It shoots any player that has more than 2 pieces of clothing and or a ranged weapon in their toolbar. When the patrol helicopter spawns, it comes from a random direction and approaches the island. It patrols the rad towns with the M249 before leaving the island. To take down the patrol helicopter, you need a ranged weapon, preferably an L96 with HV ammo to get its attention. If you hit the patrol helicopter, it will leave its path and come towards you. You must show up in order for the patrol helicopter to not leave after 30 seconds. There are 2 weak points for the patrol helicopter, the main blades and the tail. If both are destroyed, the patrol helicopter will be destroyed, ignoring its actual health. Having a base with vertical metal embrasures and a bed is recommended so you can respawn whenever you die. You should keep in mind that of the patrol helicopter shooting rockets or incendiary rockets at you. When it turns backwards and go a little bit further from your base and comes back, that's when you should fucking run, as the metal embrasures cannot protect you from the explosions. If the patrol helicopter is taken down, it will fall to the ground while spinning and explode. It will be on fire for a while, including the loot crates and the body of the patrol helicopter. You cannot take out while smoking fire with water buckets. The loot crates will extinguish first, and then the body of the patrol helicopter. Keep in mind that people can see where the crash site is located, debris field icon on the map. You may get countered while waiting for the fire to extinguish. After its body extinguishes, mining the body doesn't play a burning sound, you can get high quality metal, metal fragments, and charcoal. Back in older Rust, you were able to build next to and on roads, and at most monuments there were bus stop prefabs that you could base in. These were very good bases to have, considering it gave you 6 out of 10 builds you needed to make a foolproof 2x1. There are multiple videos discussing bus stop bases and how great they are, mostly made by Prince Vids. Bus stop bases were peak Rust, and I will never forget them. Just like the Chippy's Arcade, the tool gun is an item you could receive if you owned both Garry's Mod and Rust. The tool gun was made as a substitute for the hammer to celebrate 15 years of Gmod. I've already explained this somewhere else on my channel, so go check that video out if you want an explanation. After the iceberg, of course. Project Nova is the mission that LaunchSite was trying to achieve, which we would later find out was a mission to Mars, because of a group of developers decided to make a line of servers called Project Nova, which is Rust, but it takes place on Mars. Monuments are in biodomes, and you have to have a diving tank on if you're outside one, or outside of your base. With Project Nova came the first ever hazmat skin, which was the astronaut suit. Some of these servers are still up, but most have died and dried out. Just like the patrol helicopter, Bradley_APC is an NPC boss that drops high tier loot when defeated. You can find Bradley patrolling the launch site or at the end of wipes patrolling the roads. To kill Bradley APC efficiently, you need a rocket launcher and 7 high-velocity rockets. Bring more if you aren't confident with your aim. There are many more ways to kill him, but I won't be describing those efforts. In the game Garry's Mod, also made by Facepunch, there is a sub-game which is made to act and work exactly like Rust, so the people who bought Garry's Mod and didn't buy Rust can play Rust. This actually used to pop when it came out, but it is completely dead now. Wipe ending events are events that typically happen at the end of Wipe, like the jets passing over the island and Bradley beginning to roam the map. There's not much to this, but these events could add into the lore of Rust. The smoke rocket is an item that was never added to the game, and was supposed to work like the grenade launcher smoke grenade, but larger and from a rocket launcher. It originally had the design for the homing missile rocket, but of course that was given to exactly what I just said. I believe this would be a cool idea for in the future and would be a great idea for raiding. The RUST is the official name of Rust. Yes, Rust is an acronym, and we found this out in May of 2023 with the update that came with the nuclear missile silo. At the bottom of this monument there is a computer that gives the exact countdown until the next force wipe, or the next test. This is a very big lore entry because it shows that Rust isn't just people trying to survive, but a test, and has something to do with repopulation. Same with the Wolf 2.0 update. I've already explained this on my channel. Go check out that video if you want to after this one. The frog boots were a limited time item that you could receive if you own the game in early access. This item is not tradable or marketable, making it one of the rarest items to have been in the game. It takes only 1 tarp to make, gives 5% cold protection and 8% rad protection. By far, T-Guy Tom is the chillest Rust YouTuber with his quality of life playstyle focusing mainly on being a good person and farming his teas. He has great videos, and I suggest you give him a watch after this. Griff the Grub is a YouTuber mainly known for his playstyle of, you guessed it, grubbing. He's an absolute playmaker and has a lot of interesting shorts and movie-length videos on his grubbing tactics and stories. Bridges were supposed to be a geographical landmark, but was scrapped by Garry because it would be way too awkward to put anywhere in a randomly generated map. In 2024, Willipets and Rust had a collaboration, and they made real-life frog boots, which originally cost $180. With the boots, you would receive a code to redeem and receive the Willipets frog boot hat. Ghosting is a form of inciting, but with clans. Let me explain more thoroughly. Ghosting is like being an undercover cop, but to steal stuff from large groups of people. Without the analogy, you are pretty much disguising yourself as a base member, usually a clan member, and tracking your way into the clan's base to steal their precious items. This is usually done without codes or having to kill anyone, and is a very hard method because you can get found out very easily. In November of 2024, the new Twitch drop line included a rug from Kai Cenat, but for quite a while he did not stream Rust and was focusing on his subathon stream, which enraged the community, because by the second day, 0 rugs were claimed. He finally gave into the subathon and began to play Rust, but only around 17 to 30,000 players were actually able to achieve the rug by the end of the event. Blood bags are items that are now unusable and don't technically exist in modern Rust, but back in the Legacy days you could use this item to craft medkits. I wonder if they will use this item for anything else in the future. Glue is also an unusable item in the game that does absolutely nothing. It is the same look as low-grade fuel but with white fluid instead of yellow. The jungle was the most recent addition to Rust, adding a heavily forested new biome, new hostile animals, a new monument, and of course, the blow darts. The jungle is one of the most controversial things added to Rust yet because of how hostile it is. Grubs hiding in the trees or in heavily bushed areas, tigers and panthers hunting you and one-tapping you, crocodiles floating in the river making sure you can't escape onto land or in water, and of course, the stationary stakes there to slowly kill you and slow you down. All of this makes the jungle very inhabitable and very disliked. PP9000 is a console Rust game mechanic for when there are over 100 sleepers in a server to keep server stability. Why is it named PP9000? I don't know, go ask 011. This is technically a contraband skin that was never actually added to the game, but players found a way to obtain this skin by opening high quality barrels, and yes, you can still obtain it. These 2 items in the game act as your own personal giant excavator and water jack. To place down a mining quarry, you had to use a survey charge and it would randomly find a certain node that you could farm. Usually people did this to have their own personal sulfur quarry. Sadly, they were removed in December of 2017. Of course, more cut content. The fire extinguisher was supposed to be an item in the game that stopped fires, mostly like the fires of the patrol helicopter and Bradley APC. Back when you could claim the Twitch Rivals trophy for free, people were actually selling it on the community market for $40, making people hilariously waste their money. Zombies are an old feature of Rust that was sadly removed because when Legacy transitioned over, as mentioned before, Rust was pretty much a DayZ copy, but of course, expanded their own route. Seasonally, zombies will show up in the form of scarecrows on Halloween events. The large oil refinery is more cut content from Rust. It was supposed to act like just the small oil refinery, but with larger loot holding just like the large furnace. I understand why this wasn't added because this would be absolutely OP. So much fuel, so much meds. We are currently living in the time of Rust, so this right here disproves the 10 billion years later theory. Oh, sorry, forgot to explain. The reason that 5, 10, 24 is so significant is because when you would type month, day, and year into the console, it would give that date, which people have came to the conclusion that that is when the repopulation unit survival test begins its first ever wipe. This thankfully gives us a clear indicator on when Rust takes place and how old the buildings and land is. In the military tunnels, there are an excessive amounts of radioactive waste and even test tubes with human bodies in there. It seems the scientists have taken an interest in this and it could possibly contribute to the lore of Rust and why the players are here. As stated earlier, Rust's day and night cycle was updated and so was its skybox to actually fit seasons and to fit the constellations, which is an absolutely incredible attention to detail. Bleach is another cut item from Rust that has absolutely no use or any intended use. Jesus Christ, how many cut content entries do we have left? 3? You fucking kidding me? With the rat animals in Legacy Rust, there were also passive animals like the chickens and rabbits. They were of course removed when the newer animals came, but just recently, chickens were re-added a part of the new Cooking 2.0 update. Here's where things start to get more concerning and the things that most players don't know. This ranges from secrets from the devs to just flat out weird shit in the games. This one's fucking hilarious. In the Adult Swim show Smiling Friends, a character named Mr. Man meets Satan in his room where the hell is froze over. Satan can be seen rocking a tree in Rust at his setup, which is so fucking hilarious because the hell spawns that play this Rust make it so fucking accurate. I wonder if he's still playing to this day. In the Missile Silo Monument, there is a burnt employee in the bathroom. I don't know why he is here or what happened to him, but it is a mystery that has yet to be solved. And something even more weird is that the room that they are in is the only extra room that has prefabs in it to detail it. So is it here for a reason? Theoretically, it could have something to do with the cannibalism entry later down the list. There are various posters around the Rust map hinting at biogenetic research and testing, including this one that says Regeneration Program. But the one that sticks out the most is a poster with the head of Cobalt advertising employee rewards, which include Shareds and Project Nova Priority. The second word is scratched out along with the head of Cobalt's eyes, but you can most definitely make out the word Immortality. This raises many red flags, especially in the lore, considering all exhibits lead to us being the successful test of immortality. I do hope one day they will expand more on the lore of Rust, because what we have now is absolutely crazy. As mentioned earlier, Rust updated their skybox to match our own skies, and something the players did was read the constellations to figure out where exactly on Earth Rust takes place. And according to them, Rust takes place in the southern hemisphere right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which could make sense considering the biodiversity and landmarks there are. I mean, there's an Arctic area, a desert area, a forested area, and a fucking jungle. Theoretically, Rust Island could be Point Nemo in this universe, because we are so damn close to the Arctic, forests, deserts, and jungles. And where we are in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere. On a few of the ZenLab shipping containers, there is a sign with a phone number registered in northern Alabama for sales. This is what happens when you call it.
Call it. Oh, that's loud. That's very loud.
Oh, so devious! Okay. Literally nothing happens. Back in old Rust, before blueprint fragments were even a thing, Rust implemented an XP system where every level had certain blueprints to unlock. Like level 1, you had your regular necessities like the tool cupboard, wooden door, sleeping bag, yada yada. And that went on so with levels. I'm really glad they removed this system because if you go and look at level 7, you weren't given a long range weapon until that level when it gave you the hunting bow. There was an idea that Facepunch had that regularly a dead whale would wash up on the beaches of the island and players could farm it for cloth, leather, animal fat, bones, and all the normal animal shit you get, but in massive amounts. This entry is going to be long, but it is my favorite, so please do bear with me. When playing Rust, you are guaranteed to see a scientist. You could see them on the side of the road analyzing radiation data. You could see them at your local train yard. You can trade with them at outposts or discover the secrets they are hiding under the military tunnels. The scientists are the most common NPC enemies, but there is no idea of where they came from, who they are, and what their intentions are. Of course, there are many theories that they could be a part of Cobalt, but I don't want to believe that. My favorite theory is that they are trying to finish Cobalt's work in an unethical way. Another theory that I have thought of is that the scientists are trying to destroy Cobalt's work, which is why they have on hazmat suits and are testing the radiation. They are using the cargo ship to transport their findings in and out, which something I just noticed about the cargo ship is that it's coincidentally named the CCSC Lazarus, and for those of you that don't know, Lazarus was a person in the Bible who was resurrected by Jesus. We are the test subjects. Anyways, and you might not pay a lot of attention to it, but you can almost sound out what the scientists are saying when they speak. They have English accents and are evidently operating American war vehicles like the Boeing CH-47, the Bradley, and of course the patrol helicopters. So with that evidence, the scientists in Rust are most likely the US government. Just like the scientists, there has been a lot of speculation about who owns the island in Rust. The scientists, the Soviet Union, or America? Well, to give it to you straight, it's most likely both the Soviet Union and America. Well, not America, but the Soviet Union and an American corporation. With how the buildings look and how aged they are, there is a good possibility that this was made during or right after the Cold War. The buildings look Russian-owned, but there are American posters and American cars, so possibly after the Cold War in this universe, Russia and America allied up to try to reach Mars and dabble in some genetic research. More evidence that adds up to this is the launch site that eerily resembles Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, which was built by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. This is almost like a movie type thing, like The Gorge, where America and Russia work together to secretly keep things under wraps. When the pylon ziplines first released to Rust, you were able to retrieve military crates on them until a certain update, but miraculously, a Reddit user found that you could still get military crates on them, even though in the dev blog it was stated that they were removed. To this day, they still have not been removed. In this image, it is seen that Microsoft was watching Facepunch and considering to buy them and Rust for its UGC and live ops. Apparently, Gary was offered a few $1 million, but the deal never happened. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've heard and seen. Just like Medieval Rust and Project Nova, there are actually Rust servers that take place in the Wild West and are some of the funnest servers to play on. It's normal Rust, but with primitive gear and only revolvers and shotguns. For some reason, there is a massive amount of cargo ship cockpit that isn't used. There are a bunch of rooms that you can see inside of that don't even have doors registered, even though at a different angle you can see a door. It is very odd why they don't use these or what they could be used for in the future. Gary's mind map refers to the owner of Facepunch, Gary Newman, and the map he had planned out for Rust, as you can see here. It pictured about a decade of plans, and honestly, there is a lot on here that has been added, which just goes to show you how Facepunch and Gary's dedication is so fucking immaculate. The accident is a random item that was accidentally added into a people's Steam account by Gary, so he just renamed and changed the model to a book titled The Accident. Okay, finally, the last fucking cut content. Blah blah blah. Mid-grade fuel was supposed to make vehicles in Rust run faster, but it was never added. It was supposed to have the look of a gas jug, but that wouldn't make any sense. The Sandbox Game shirt is a t-shirt skin with the Gary's Mod logo. This is a very rare shirt to obtain, last being sold in August of 2024, and its current value sits at around $60, but no one's selling it. I don't know how you could attain this skin, but not many people have it. Earlier in the iceberg, I mentioned this entry because of the burnt scientist at the nuclear missile silo. Well, in the Arctic research base, there is another burnt scientist, but this time with his head cut off and strapped to a table. Why would a scientist need to do this, especially to their own? I don't know, but there has been speculation that the scientists could be cannibals because of this game mechanic where we can eat human flesh. At the airfield, there is absolutely no cobalt signs or any mention of cobalt there. Quite possibly, if we believe that the scientists aren't truly a part of Cobalt and that they are an American government, that means the airfield was made by the scientists, especially because the airfield looks to be the only American-looking structure and the most healthy-looking structure. On the tool cupboard, there are many random notes, one of which mentions the Rust Beta official release alongside the same note, Valve's Half-Life symbol with a 3 next to it. As we all know, Half-Life 3 or Half-Life Alyx was not announced when Rust went into its beta phase or when it came out. So, sorry all you enthusiasts, you really thought I had something here. Nah, bitch, it was just clickbait. The Oxum's gas station is the only named location on the map that is owned by someone, leading to believe that Oxum used to live on the island and could have been around for the creation of the tool cupboard, because just like the Half-Life 3 teas on the cupboard, there is a note which says Oxum was here. Speculation has said that the character Oxum could be the ex-head of Cobalt, and that is his true name. Or he could be a totally random dude that survived whatever apocalyptic event happened and was one of the first Nakeds. Pack Bradley is a blurry name that you can see listed on the Frontiers of Science poster at the large wood rig. As you can see, the name Pack or possibly Paul Bradley is there, and then stated after is someone with the name Hill. There's no further evidence to prove who this is, but considering it is the first name in a line of others, it could be safe to assume that this is truly the head of Cobalt's actual name. Of course, his name wouldn't be Pack Bradley, but most likely Bradley Pack or Dr. Bradley Pack, because for some reason, when people use names, people will put the last names first. I'm truly interested to see if they do anything with the name Bradley Pack or the other mystery person, John Doe Hill. And our very last entry, we have the most unknown question in Rust. Are we Cobalt's genetic research? I mean, it would make sense from the Nakeds in the test tubes, from how we respawn, why the scientists are the only non-natives and how they wear specialized hazmat suits, why they are the hostile towards us, why we wake up naked all the time, why we look the fucking same. Oh my god, we are the fucking clones! Rust is just Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, but very modernized. What the fuck? Nah, I'm just kidding. But it is very possible that we are clones that can respawn. Holy fucking shit, we did it. We got through it, and we are done with it. I just want to thank anyone that has actually sat through this part, and if you did, go ahead and comment. Thank you, Sizimon. But truly, I should be thanking all of you. You all pushed me and motivated me into finishing the video that has been in development for 3 months in just a fucking weekend. I've always wanted to do an Iceberg Explained video, and god, it just feels good to be saying that I did. Like, damn, man. This script is currently 27 pages long, so I have a lot to edit. But like, holy shit, much love to you all. I really do hope you guys enjoyed the analysis and deep dive I did into Rust, and not just the playstyles, but its secret lore. And to be honest, I had fun doing it. But with nothing more to say except thank you guys, and shout out to my barber Daniel. He said he subscribed to my YouTube channel, and he got me right with my hair, so thanks Daniel, much love, man. But with nothing more to be said except thank you all, and I hope you have greatly enjoyed the video, and I will be seeing you all next week. Peace out.